The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Yes, welcome everyone in this episode of Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner. And so today we have Valentina. So she's back, and welcome Valentina. Today she will be introducing Gian Marco Viano of Azienda Agricola Monte Maletto. So before we begin, I would like to tell the audience about Valentina. So Valentina Severinova. Hi Valentina, how are you?
Hi, Laika. I'm okay. Thank you. Thanks for this session.
Of course. So we were actually classmates back in our via in Verona. How was it for you?
I think that VIA is the most detailed course about Italian wine. And first time I did it, it was 2021. I did not study too much. Actually, I was not prepared for this course, but I was happy to be back in Italy because it was the country I adore very much. That's why I was with you like classmates. After I did my first attempt, I did the second time and in 2022 and passed. And happy to be part of the community because I think it's excellent community to be like bridge between ambassadors and producers and very useful connection if you work as a wine educator or wine buyer and you need to find new producers from not very famous wine regions especially.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Actually, I also wanted to say that Cynthia is here. So she is our project manager for VIA. And I wanted to tell the audience that we are actually having VIA in New York on March 4 to 6. So it's open. And so if anyone wants to join and subscribe for the course, it's at benitaly.com. That's just a plug-in. But anyway, let me continue to introduce you. 3 years ago, you decided to dive into wine and you started your own tasting club. So that's really amazing. And then you're now teaching Italian wine at sommelier schools and work as a buyer for distributors and helps with the portfolio. So now Valentina is a wine journalist and a blogger promoting Italian wines in the Russian market. So tell us, why did you select Gian Marco Viano today as your favorite producer?
Okay, why I choose? Because, when the wine is such a substance that there is always something new to discover. And if you work with wine for a long time, as a sommelier, buyer, whatever, you have to taste a lot of wines as a part of your job and your palate develops and changes. Very often it changes towards subtle or very elegant and gastronomic wines. As for me, it's like that. And any wine lover is fascinated by Nebbiolo and its ability to translate the terroir. And we would like to see as a consumers different expression of this variety. And for me, the wine from Gian Marco Viano is one of the most stunning fine Nebbiolo I've ever tasted. That's one thing, because it's a different Piedmont. And moreover, we are used to the fact that Barolo and Barbaresco producers are usually like grand great-grandfathers, and viticulture is handled down from generation to generation. And however, Gian Marco Viano is a very young producer, even younger than me, with a young winery representing the heroic viticulture region of Carema. And together with other young people, they call themselves Giovanni Vignaioli Canavisani. He is dedicating his life to the development of a unique wine region and to the restoration of this appellation with the abandoned terraces that were almost forgotten. And that's very exciting, I think.
Okay, so I'm actually excited. Will you talk about the wine you've tasted? Is it a Nebbiolo wine you first tasted with Gian Marco? How did you discover the wines of Azienda Agricola Monte Maletto?
I tasted in Moscow, and here we're not discussing politics, but as for commercial things, you know that the Russian wine market is quite developed in wine and also growing a bit in Italian wine import even now. And currently, Carema has 7 producers and 1 cooperative. And the only wine from Carema that I tasted a few years ago was a cooperative wine, but it was very memorable wine of good quality, not like other styles of Nebbiolo. And also in our market, we have a growing number of wine distributors, and among them, there are not only large ones, but also small ones who are looking for diamonds among the famous and not so famous regions like Carema. That's how I discovered new wine from Carema in our market, and it was Azienda Agricola Monte Maletta, Carema Sole e Rocha, produced by Gian Marco Viano. This wine was imported by a small distributor called Alla Volea. And last spring, I was invited to the event called Rewine, organized by Gian Marco Viano and other young producers from the association Giovanni Vignaioli Canavisani. And I was fortunate to taste all the wines of 24 young wineries producing Carema, Canavese, and Erbaluccia.
That's incredible. Actually, we also have a podcast segment called Next Generation. So I would like to get in touch with you, Gianmarco, for, to feature also the young producers from Carema, Canavese, and Erbaluce. So before we dive into the discussion, since it's a geeky discussion, so tell us, what are the learning objectives that we should be expecting from this interview?
Coming back to America, Vinitaly International Academy, the ultimate Italian wine qualification, will be held in New York City from 4 to 6 March 2024. Have you got what it takes to become the next Italian wine ambassador? Find out at vinitaly.com.
We'll discuss how small young producers can be influencers and attract a young audience to the wine. We'll also talk about the difference in terroir between the wines of Carema and Alto Piemonte. In spite of the fact that Carema belongs to Canavese formally and not Alto Piemonte, we discuss the difference also between Nebbiolo Carema and Nebbiolo Canavese, and touch on the styles of white wines from Erbaluccia.
Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to mute myself, and I hope Stevie will arrive. So now the floor is yours, Valentina.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Gian Marco Viano to participate in this interview, and would like to introduce Gian Marco Viano to the audience. Gian Marco Viano, born in 1986 in Aosta and raised in Ivrea, is among the first Carema producers, part of this new generation of Canavese winemakers. Previously a sommelier in Start and not Start restaurants in Italy, in 2014 he began his new adventure as a winemaker, becoming one of the protagonists of this hidden area that is extremely suited to wine production. Ciao Gian Marco, how are you today?
Thank you for the introduction, and I will try to do my best with English. Thanks for the opportunity to have a conversation with you and with your collaborators.
Cool. Before we start the discussion, I'm curious about one thing. We know that you have always worked in the wine industry, but how did you come up with the idea of your own wine? Who inspired you?
Yes, before being a winemaker, as you said, I used to be a sommelier, especially in the restaurants, around 7 years. And a certain point of my life, I decided to split a little bit because I was tired of the the timing and the hours of work on the restaurant industry, especially the Michelin star industry. And so I try to split, even if staying in the wine world, that is my first passion. And so I try to work in a winery as a sommelier in a tasting room of a winery that is located in Barolo, which is called Baira. And in that experience, working in the winery, looking around, I was very fascinating about the work in the vineyards, the work in the winery, and so I decided to try to manage a little vineyard close to my town, to my native town, which is Ivrea, which is 20 kilometers far from Carema. And I start this adventure without great school basis, but just learning, asking a lot of producers some tricks, and learning by myself through some books or some experience of old people that are working here in the vineyards from a lot of time. The idea was trying to managing a vineyard. I start to decide, and I decide to do this work because I I I discovered that was my very big passion.
It really sounds very cool and exciting. Also, gives provides some hope to others to produce wine, other sommeliers to produce wine.
Yeah.
And why did you choose Carema Canavese and not other neighboring vineyards? Was it the call of your motherland or other reasons?
Well, yes. First of all, of course, the Carema, as I said before, is very close to my hometown, and so it was natural to choose something around my city. Then another interesting reason, for sure, is the cost of the vineyard here. You need to consider that here, 10 years ago, a lot of people decide to abandon a vineyard, and there was not generational exchange, and so the cost of the vineyard was nothing in some way. So the work was to know some people that maybe old people that was not more able to manage vineyard, and then just ask, can I please manage your vineyard? And they say, okay, just let me a couple of bottles at the end of the year, and it's fine. So that was at the time the situation. And so even people like me that I'm not coming from a winery family, and I'm not coming from a rich or a family that can spend money to buy vineyard. What was very easy to start and to begin this adventure. So there is a reason of native native area, but also a reason of in terms of economic cost that allow me to start here this business.
Great. And now a little bit study questions. We know that Nebbiolo is the great terroir translator. And speaking about the terroir, what are the distinctive features of a wine from Nebbiolo Carema and Nebbiolo Canavese? How do the wines differ from other Alto Piemonte, and how can Carema and Nebbiolo Canavese be recognized in a blind tasting?
Well, we are in the very northern part of Piedmont, close to the Aosta Valley line board. So at the bottom of the big Alps, very close to Monte Bianco and Monte Rosa and so on. So there is a very particular microclimate in this area. Of course, when we think about Nebbiolo, we think about Langhe, which is a completely different climate, and especially the soil is very different. So here, due to this big glacier that was here 9 million years ago, with a series of frost and defrost, created this valley and brings a lot of stones from the big Alps and a lot of sand. So we have a very sandy soil in some terraces, more than 70%, that gives to the wines I would say a very elegant and thin character. So you don't need to imagine the tannins of a Barolo or a Barbaresco that are, of course, very important. But here you have more acidity, a tannic texture, much more delicate in some way. And so this is the big characteristic, I would say, from the lung area to here. Also, the pH of the soil are much lower and the acidity higher. So fresher wines, normally we have 1 degree less of alcohol and 1 point more of acidity. And this is our main characteristics. As you said, Alto Piemonte is this wide region that begin here in Carema and finish close to Boca, Gemme, Gattinara. And it's like, in some way, Burgundy, because every village, so every little town like Boca, Lessona, Carema, and so on, has its proper characteristics. And here in this area, the morenic soil, the glacier original soil, gives a lot of, I would say, mineral touch to the wine. There is a lot of iron in our sand, in our soil, and so you can recognize Carema with this very mineral touch. We have rose, we have red fruit. It's always a very delicate wine, and you don't need to look to the power when you taste a Carema or a Canavese Nebbiolo. Carema is in the Canavese area because the region is called the Canavese, but it's like a little village of 22 hectares in total, while the Canavese is much more large and is around 40 villages in total.
Okay, and one more geeky question about pergola. Almost all Carema vineyards are under pergola training system and planted on terraces at high altitude and can be cultivated mechanically. And we know that viticulture here is a very labor intensive and time consuming process. But as far as I know, there is also research that pergola helps to reduce not only the impact of extreme climatic conditions like global warming, but many producers in Italy are going back to pergola because it requires also less labor. There is no canopy management, no shoot thinning and positioning, low leaf removal like with vertical shoot position. Does it really make sense? And does pergola help you working in the vineyard? And do you think that now more and more wine producers are going back to old and traditional winemaking practices?
Yeah, these very interesting questions because what the characteristics that I was talking before are made also by this particular training system that we have, especially in North Italy. Also, for example, there is Pergola Veronese in Veneto and in other areas of Alpine viticulture, I would say. Because yes, the climate changing, of course, is challenging, and the pergola, I think, that helps to live is like a protection from the sun because the clusters are below the leaves every time, and so normally this freshness is also preserved by this protection by the sun that preserve the aromas, the fruitness, and also helps to preserve the acidity. So it's definitely an old tradition, an old viticulture system, but that is very modern, very modern. Today, this morning, I had here a Chianti producer that came here and he said to me, I have to try for sure Pergola even in Chianti because I want to understand if is something that can help me. In a lot of areas in this moment to have wine less than 14 and a half of alcohol is very difficult due to the climate changing, the dryness of the soils, and so on. Can be something to try to discover. Of course, every soil, every area are different characteristics, and maybe not everywhere the pergola can be okay. Also because even each varieties that can be better or not. But you said about the time consuming process, labor intensive, and so on. Well, yes, in some way, for sure, during the green moment, so July, June, the pergola gives less work because we don't have this work of shooting canopy. But for sure, we need to remove the leaves. Absolutely, we need to do green harvest. We need to do a lot of things because below the pergola, we need to have always a good aeration, some sun that entry anyway to don't create too much humidity because otherwise then we start a lot of diseases like wine milder and so on. So there is work maybe during from May, July, less than Aguillon, for example. Yeah.
The vineyards in Carema is like a spectacular view with pergola and very memorable and recognizable, I think. And so you are working with two varieties, Nebbiolo and Erbaluce. And what is your favorite grape to work in the vineyard? And is it your favorite one to work in the cellar as well?
It's a difficult question because it's like asking what's your favorite song. The first one, the second one, the third one are all in my heart in some way, For sure, Derbaluce, the DNA of Derbaluce helps a lot the vigory. So he makes a lot of this, a lot of green. Maybe compared with Nebbiolo, gives more work to maintain the pergola in a healthy and good condition. While the Nebbiolo, there is more equilibrium, no? Equilibrium of vigory and so on. Also in the cell are both interesting because with Derbaluce I make just classic herbaluce, so no sparkling, no sweet wine, but due to the high acidity and the pH which is low and so on, you can do everything you want. You can do very good metodo classico, very good passito, and also good still wines also to age. I personally making also orange wine. You can make and you can enjoy really to work in the vineyard with Arbaluce. With the Nebbiolo, of course, for us is something special because we are very lucky to be here, to born here, grown here in a little corner of Piedmont where there is the Nebbiolo, which is actually, I think, one of the, I don't know, two, four, five most important grapes of the world. And so it's always interesting to work in the vineyard with the Nebbiolo, also in the cellar, experimenting, for example, all clusters or not stemming the grapes, just stencil tank aging, but also you can do very long aging in wood. So you can do plenty of things with these two grapes.
And you told already about Herbaluce that this variety, provides all styles of wine from excellent sparkling to passito.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you experiment with macerated Herbaluce. And do you see potential for the variety in this particular style?
This is a very good question, very difficult, because orange wine is something very ancient as origin. But even here in Canavese, but just 50, 60 years ago, the white wine was made with skin contact, no? Because was not selected yeast, so the yeast provided from the skins were very important to bring in the wines. At a certain point, there's been a kind of boom of orange wines correlated with natural wines, with few years of good orange wine and not so good wines in this particular style due to the volatile acidity and other things that are, in my opinion, not attractive. Now there is a point that I think is very difficult to find a bad orange wine, thanks to the experience, thanks to the in Italy, especially thanks to the Friuli experience. So many great producers that in some way explain to everybody what was the right way to produce orange wine. Is a wine that's dividing the customers. So there are the very passionate by orange wine and the people that really doesn't like orange wine. So there is a little corner of the market that loves this kind of wines, and others that really are more in the classic white wines. So my opinion is that it would be interesting to follow the production of this style of wine, but without producing many bottles. So I think it will be uh, a little discovering of your portfolio wines. This is my opinion.
Okay, and what about your title wine? Your title wine is called Monte Maletto Carema Sole e Roccia, and it has an interesting label as well as your avatar on WhatsApp depicting a famous Italian figure. Can you tell us more about it?
Basically, that is a portrait made by a Torino artist called Tabusso, and there is a portrait of Mario Soldati. Mario Soldati has been here in Italy with Veronelli, one of the very first journalists that were talking about wine, talking about the gastronomic world in some way. And he was very in love with Carema. And so I decided to put this little portrait in the label. And then the portrait reminds also my father. My father died in the 2015. That has been my first harvest. And so there was this kind of combination of things that inspired to me to put this portrait in the label.
Great. And Gian Marco, tell us 3 reasons why wine connoisseurs who normally drink Barolo Barbaresca should try Carema wines.
I told you at the beginning of the interview, if you're looking to a Nebbiolo a little fresher with less alcohol, that maybe it's even easier to finish the bottle. Sometimes depending by the style, now the style also in Barolo and Barbaresco, the trend is to give a little more lightness to the wine because sometimes it's difficult for us to finish a bottle because the tannins, the powerness, this juiciness. So while here the wines are a little more fresher and so even easier to drink. That doesn't mean that are less complex, but having different kind of complexity, different characteristics. And so this also is interesting to discover the Nebbiolo that is coming from other areas. No, we have also in Lombardy the Valtellina. Even over there are many new young producers that are start to do great stuff. Lessona, Boca, and other producers from Canavese that are producing Canavese Nebbiolo. That for me is fantastic. Has different characteristics from Carema, so less mineral, maybe a little more in the fruitiness style, but are very good products. So I will suggest to everybody to taste the wines from Alto Piemonte to have another view of the Nebbiolo from Piedmont.
And you are now a president of Association Giovani Vignaioli Canavesani. Who are they? And you have also a very cool event. I was happy to participate, and it's an event dedicated to Giovani Vignaioli Canavesani. Do you plan to continue with this presentation?
Yeah, Giovani Vignaioli Canavesani is an association born in the 2020. Why? Why? Because, as I said before, many young producers start to try, to experiment, to start some adventure to the wine business because the opportunity to start. But many of us didn't have the basis, of enologies, agriculture. Sometimes it's difficult to buy the press grapes or some tanks. So with this group, sometimes we give us each other, some machinery that we need in the vineyard or in the cellar. We share information. We share something that we discovered, some experiment. We try a lot of wines together from other areas, but also we do blind tasting of our wines to see at what point we are and to do some competition, but healthy competition, good competition between us to grow, to grow. And in this area, it's never been a fair of wine from this area. And so we decided to create this event, which is called the Rewine. That is the most important event of Canavese and Carema wines. Normally we do this in May. That is a good moment for us, where we do the opportunity to everybody to try more or less all the wines from Canavese and Carema. And so we are very happy. every year we have a lot of incredible people that are coming from us to us. So we definitely want to continue. This year will be 11 and 12 May. Also in this case, we want to improve. We want to do always our best, and that's it.
And I saw that our Italian wine Bible, Professor Attilio Scienza, also attended your event last year.
We have Walter Massa, Attilio Scienza, Armando Castagno, Rinaldi. Last year we have Mattia Gravner. So people that really are an opportunity for us to grow and to learn a lot. We are very proud and very happy to have this personality here in Canavese.
It's really great. Gian Marco, you are young and your friends are also young producers. How would you describe the target audience for your wines, and what should be done to promote wines to a young audience? Does being a young winemaker help you to sell your wine somehow?
Well, first of all of us, I would say, are more than young. That for me, yes, it is important, but not so important. No, because there are people that maybe are 60, 70 that are younger than 20s, no? Because it's the brain, it's the mentality that have to be young. Our characteristic, I would say, is more than young, the artisanal. We are all people that follow the vineyard from the beginning, from the little plant that we're planting to the harvest, and then from the harvest to the bottle, and then we need to think about the labels and also the commercial stuff, trying to have also a good, healthy economic situation. And so this, I think, is the characteristic that every artisans have, in every business. And this is what we are. No, we don't. We can buy some grapes. Well, we cannot buy more than the 50% of grapes that we make. We don't buy wines that are already made. We want really to follow all the little steps that are starting from the little plant to the bottle and so on. And so this is important. Of course, be young is always interesting for importers and so on, because you can give a fresher, some fresher ideas, some new interesting point of view. But the most important thing is the artisanal personality that every one of us has.
And how do you see Carema Canavese wine area in the future?
For me, it's great. And for me, for our importers, you need to consider here the quantity are not a lot. So we don't producing many bottles, but all the bottles that we producing are normally sold before bottle the wines, no? So this is a good point to start, because I think another important thing, as we told before, is the climate changing that at the moment helping a lot us. So we really need to go higher in terms of elevation in the vineyard, because even here will be the problem of the climate changing. We have a big problem here, that is the water, that we need to challenge in the future. But I think that the area is developing a lot in terms of quality of wines, in terms of production, in terms of people that are starting this business with passion and bringing some new ideas. And I think that the market, the importers, and so on, will follow us in this journey,
And Gian Marco, do you plan to expand your vineyards in the future? Because in Carema, great territory, unique, and every producer is very small, tiny, and only 22 hectares, as you mentioned. And what about your perspectives? What do you think?
Well, yes, a little bit. I have one hectare and a half at the moment, and I'm producing around 7,000 bottles. I think I will go up to 12, 15,000 bottles, but no more. For me, it's important to preserve, as we said before, this artisanal reality. And I think that being artisan means also do step by step and have surface that allow you to manage everything from the beginning to the finish. And so this is my goal. I don't want to be, I don't want to have 10 hectares and producing 100,000 bottles. I really don't care about it. Even because before the work, after the work, there is a life, and I want to preserve also my little trekking of climbing mountain. I want to go to the stadium to see my football team, and so this is my reality. This is my goal in some way.
Yeah, just ask this question because your wine in Russia is almost finished, and I think that you give allocation to distributors, so we need more allocation.
But I will increase. For example, Carema now is 2,000 bottles, and I hope to go up to 4,000 or 5,000 bottles in few years. 2023, that has been just harvested the past year. It will be already around the 3,000 bottles. So slowly, I will increase, but as I said before, I don't want to be a big producer, in terms of quantity, for sure.
Yeah, Gian Marco, that's all from my side. All questions from my side. I think we have a good interview about different Piedmont style. And thank you for joining us. And I give floor to Stevie. She usually has also questions. She produces.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm sorry
Grazie.
to come on board. Ciao, Gian Marco. So late because we had some technical issues at the office today. I guess I do see the notes from backstage, but so Gian Marco, I'm sure you have discussed most of these topics, but can you just give me a brief review? You said you make 7,000 bottles. You produce 7,000 bottles?
Yes.
In total.
At the moment, yes.
And how many labels?
Are 4 labels. There is 2 white. One is the Vecchieton Long, that is Darbaluce made in wood. And the other one is the Genesis, that is an orange wine made again with Arbaluce.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the Cannabis Nebbiolo, that is our fresh and fruity Nebbiolo from selection of grapes in Carema, but also in Settimo Bittone, that is another village close to Carema, but already out from the DOC of Carema. And then the Carema Sole Roccia, which is my blend of different vineyards in Carema. In some year, like 2018 and probably 2022, I'm producing also a single vineyard wine from Carema. That is from my first vineyard that I took in the 2015, which is called De La Costa. That is made pressing the grapes without the stem, the grape. So it's 100% with stems, and is another again as another personality character compared with the Sole Roccia also.
You know, Gian Marco, we've never met, but I'm so fascinated by your philosophy of, I would say, wine production, but also just life in general. You had just mentioned, I came at the tail end of the discussion, and you said you have no intention of becoming a much larger wine producer. Is that correct?
Yes, I want to maintain an artisan reality, So I will try to do this. Of course, never know in the life, because in the life you can have some opportunity that maybe can change your mind. But
Sure.
in this moment, my goal is, of course, to increase the production, because now is not enough, but it's not enough also to invest or invest in the cellar, invest in other things. Here we were talked before about the Giovani Vignaioli Canavesani, and here we are 24 wineries, and I think 20 of those 24 are just surviving with this work, because every other one has another job or are working in other wineries.
Right.
And so we need everybody. We need to increase the production to maintain economically the wineries.
I suppose that was my question, leading to how is it sustainable for you to make such small production? I don't know the organization of your wine company. So I guess that was it. I was kind of struggling trying to understand your business model, if you will. How many people work in your company?
One, which is me.
So you're pretty much a one-man show.
Yes, yeah. During the summer to cut the grass, there is a person that helping me, but just me.
Right.
I have 1 hectare and a half, so I don't have 10 hectares. But for example, Google and check how is made Carema. Carema is made all with terraces. That the most of the terraces.
I know. I saw the pictures. I mean, it is heroic viticulture, right?
Yeah. So
you must be super fit. Super in forma.
But we love wine, and we love also food. And here we have good food, but also quite caloric food.
So, Gian Marco, listen, I think it's fascinating story. It's I think fairly unique, and hopefully, good luck to you. Hopefully, we can come and visit your one-man show. We'll give you a little bit of advance notice, but we would love to come and see you sometime.
Yes. Come. As I said before, I'm not just me. Of course, in this way that I am alone, but. There are many other wineries with great guys that are making great. Yeah, Carema, also Canavese.
Canavese.
I think there is a great future for this area also, because this guy at the moment doesn't have experience, but year by year are improving the quality of the wines, the quality of also of the communication. And so it's a kind of a white paper, and we are writing now. We're writing now our story, and this is very, very stimulating for every of us.
And the label on your wine, that gentleman, who is that? The illustration of the man on your label with the hat.
Is Mario Soldati.
Okay, it's Mario Soldati.
Yeah.
Okay, so you dedicated this wine to him.
Yes. This in this portrait, he reminds also a lot of my father.
Okay.
So my father died in 2015, that was my first vintage.
Mm-hmm.
And so this combination of things, and the Mario Soldati also, because Mario Soldati was very in love to Carema, in Carema, and so this combination of things bring me to decide to use this portrait that is made by an Torino artist called Francesco Tabusso.
Yeah, so I just want to invite all of our listeners to check out also your Instagram. It's very skinny, but it's Monte Maletto Carema _Carema. And Michela Morris, who is also our Italian wine expert from Vinitaly International Academy, she reviewed your wines for Decanta. And we have very, very important wines. You're squeezed in between Biondi Santi and Fonte Canale. So you're a small guy, but you are quite in good company, let's say.
Yes, sir. No, I'm happy, very, very happy.
So congratulations. And Gian Marco, let us know how we can help you and, spread the gospel about your wine. If we can help you with that. That's what it's all about. Valentina is our Italian wine ambassador, of course. And that's what we want to do. And thank you so much for bringing Gian Marco to us today. And I think that's a wrap. Leica, do you want to come on and tell us what's going on next?
Okay, so next week is just going to be Wine Clubhouse on Thursday. So
Thank you very much.
That's going to be Russ Lorber. He will be interviewing Nicoletta Pala from Audaria from Sardinia.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. And thank you for joining us today, Gian Marco. Ciao, Valentina. Hope to see you soon. Ciao, ragazzi.
Ciao.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.